Hey, this is Aaron Fink from Grapple City Rewind. If you like what you hear on this episode, give us a follow, leave us a review, cut a promo on us. Anything goes. It'll go a long way in helping us to be discovered by more wrestling fans like you. All right, cue that music.
Hello and welcome to Grapple City Rewind, taking you all the way back to the VHS era pay-per-views that shaped wrestling history. Today we're heading across the pond to Manchester, England, May 1999 for a Rare Attitude Era UK-only show that featured Austin and Taker and Triple H and about 4,000 dudes with whistles in the crowd. This is WWF No Mercy UK 1999, a show that screams Attitude Era chaos with all the McMahon, Helmsley bullshit, but still delivers some pretty wild moments. If you remember this one or you were in the crowd blowing that damn air horn, hit us up at Grapple City Pod on Instagram or leave us a voicemail at 626-657-SLAM. We love to hear from you. I'm Bradley Palermo here as always with Aaron Fink. Aaron, how you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not too bad. We saw Backlash the other night. Maybe we should talk a little current product before we get into the rewind.
Sure, yeah. Backlash was a thing. It happened. It was on Saturday. It was in St. Louis. It was fine. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, but I also wasn't like blown away by it. I feel like it was a solid B show.
Yeah, I think, St. Louis is where I grew up, so it's my old stomping grounds, and Randy Orton
he's your guy.
A hometown hero, and
he's from the Lou, like you.
Yeah, he's from the western outreaches of St. Louis, like I am. So
he's only a little bit older than you, right? You're kind of close-ish to him in age, I think.
He's got to be close in age. He might be like, I don't know. What? I'm 43. He might be 47.
I think he's a little older. Yeah, he's 45. So yeah, 40. You guys were there at the same time.
Close. Yeah, so my friends in St. Louis that were at the show and stuff are really excited to see Randy Orton, and they all still have faith that Randy's got another title run in him, which I was always kind of like, I think at this age, he only does a couple matches a year, and we're probably not going to get it. It would have been cool to see him have it for a transitional moment with the John Cena thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, he could definitely have a run. You look at, even Cody, every WWE champion from 2019 until now, I guess there's only been 2 or 3, but they all, they don't wrestle all the time. So he could probably pull it off. I mean, I think it'd be fun. It doesn't really seem like it's going to happen right now with John Cena based on how Backlash went, but he's got more time. He's in good shape. His matches have slowed down a lot, but like not in a bad way. Like he's very intentional now, and it's something that I noticed that a lot of the guys in their 40s have kind of figured out is they're like, I don't have to I could take my time and go really, really slow, and it's still just as effective as a spot fest, crazy paced match. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, and it was so cool to see him walk out to a hometown crowd, and the match was kind of fun. It's too many ref bumps.
Yeah. Well, it reminded me of everything we've been watching. One thing that's never changed is ref bumps. Ref bumps will always be a thing.
Big part of wrestling. But he had Cena pinned so many times, and then
there's always a chance, right? In wrestling, anything could happen, but I didn't think that John was going to lose here. It doesn't really make the most sense. I don't know who he's going to lose to. Probably Cody.
And just Cody.
Yeah, just way down the road. It was a fun match. It was probably the best match on the card, I think. They were all...
Nothing else is even jumping out in my mind right now, but yeah.
Yeah, we got a Jeff Cobb debut in WWE. That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Jeff Cobb is a beast of a man and a very, very strong dude. I saw him at Ring of Honor when they were at the Galen Center a couple of years ago. And he's an impressive dude. Very strong. I'm excited to see what they do with him.
WWE's gotten rid of a bunch of people, but it seems like they've secured a lot of people lately too. They're kind of switching up the lineup a little bit. So.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, if you want to talk about the releases for a minute, I guess we can. It sucks, right? You never want to see people get fired, especially if they're people that you as a fan are invested in or want to see do more stuff. So I totally understand that. But at the same time, it's business. it's a job. Like people get let go from jobs all the time. I know that some of the people that got let go weren't given an opportunity in the eyes of the fans to really prove themselves and get over, but that's just the way business is. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity to do what you should have the opportunity to do. So I hope that everyone that was released goes off and does great stuff elsewhere, because there's plenty of places to wrestle in 2025.
And plenty of websites to make money off of when you make it after you leave WWE.
And now it's time for the rewind.
This was an interesting one. I picked this one. Initially, I thought that the idea of a pay-per-view that was in the UK at a time when there weren't really pay-per-views in the UK was interesting. What made it more interesting to me is that this pay-per-view was actually not available in the United States at all. It was only on United Kingdom pay-per-view platforms. And this was because at the time, all of the pay-per-views that took place in the US were actually shown for free in the UK up until I think maybe 97 or 98, and something changed with the laws or something like that. And so now they were able to, it must have been a TV deal, like a network deal that had expired or something. So now they wanted to start selling pay-per-views in the UK, and this was kind of their way of making them feel like they were special and introducing them to what it could be like. And I thought this was going to be a fun one, but in reality, this was just kind of like a glorified house show.
It was.
That being said, it was kind of interesting, especially for us to be dropped in the middle of it's what seems to be like a 4 or 5 month long storyline with Shane McMahon, the son of Vince McMahon, and Triple H, The Undertaker, and a slew of other people. And they are called the Corporate Ministry. So they're like the heel group of the time. They're feuding with pretty much everybody who's not in the Corporate Ministry. And this pay-per-view just starts with a promo. It starts with Shane and everyone in the Corporate Ministry coming down to the ring. So I know I said Triple H and Undertaker. They also have APA or Farouk or / Ron Simmons and JBL. They have Paul Bearer. They have China. They have someone called Midian, who I feel like was Phineas Godwin when I was a kid and watching. So they changed him. And then Viscera, who was Mabel. Do you remember Mabel?
Yeah, Men on a Mission was a big tag team, like when I was watching a lot, like 94.
Yeah.
And it was Mabel and somebody, I don't know, but Mabel was kind of like, he's basically playing like sort of a happy major chord hip hop guy, like tag team back again, like that kind of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's like big, heavy, fat, like Marilyn Manson, black Marilyn Manson.
What a Viscera is a terrible name. My God, it's just gross.
He's gothy and creepy and huge.
Yeah, well, that was the whole gimmick of the whole group, right? Is they were all like gothy and dark and ominous and demonic, or what, I don't know, whatever the Undertaker's shtick was, they were all kind of like molded there.
They kind of had a carny vibe, like all these huge, like oddly sized men, like with little Shane McMahon leading them, and even Paul Bearer, like he didn't really have that funeral director look anymore. He kind of just looked like
he was normal. I thought that was really funny.
Farm boy or something. Yeah, I was like, I don't know what this carny crew is up to.
They're a weird bunch.
Maybe not the best part of the Attitude Era. I don't.
It's a short time, so like I was watching around this time. I don't know how much, like if I was watching every week or anything like that, but I was aware of what was going on. And after doing some research, I think they only lasted like 6 months.
Yeah, I can see that.
And what it ended up being, I think the end of it all was that, they had been alluding to someone who was working in the shadows and calling all the shots for the Corporate Ministry. And it turns out that it was Vince. And so then, just playing into Vince being the maniacal,
right,
Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine of WWF at the time.
Yeah, I liked the setup though, like the black ring, the black ring posts and the red ropes. There's no, like all the stuff we watched back then. There's no like LED dude wipes stuff flashing on the ring.
That's true. I did the Morgan and Morgan in the middle of the ring during Backlash was super distracting.
Oh my God. You know what? Morgan and Morgan. There's nothing like personal injury attorney like shit on the ring.
Scummiest personal injury attorneys, like Jacob
and
Emrani.
I know. And then on one of the turnbuckles, it had a QT Quick Trip logo, which back home, Quick Trip is like the best gas station. It has like every kind of soda on fountain that you could imagine, like every kind of like little treat or it's got microwaves everywhere. You know, you have to get these like bagel things that were full of cheese called Rip and Dips, and you never wait in line at Quick Trip. Like they look at you, what's in your hand, and they're like $7.98.
That's crazy.
And it's just crazy. And then the change flies back at you like they're like math, geniuses.
I've never been to one. I don't think they have those on the West Coast.
Yeah, I was like, man, they are in St. Louis. There's I never thought I'd see Quick Trip on a turnbuckle. So,
yeah, none of that in 1999 in the UK.
Right. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, the promo at the beginning is basically Shane McMahon hyping up the pay-per-view, hyping up the matches, how all the people in his group are wrestling, and how they're all going to win because they're the best. So once that's done, we get into the first match of the evening. Tiger Ali Singh versus Gillberg. And yes, you heard me right. I said Gillberg, not Goldberg. My God.
I don't know if I've seen a Gillberg match before. I know
I have.
That I've seen things about him, and I know that Goldberg was pretty irritated. Goldberg, of course, being the big star on the other channel at this time, and then
WCW.
And Gillberg is a smaller, less impressive, but does all the same mannerisms. This is a hilarious parody of Goldberg, and he's just out there to just get squashed, I guess.
Yeah, well, we start off with Tiger Ali Singh coming to the ring. He's a snobby Indian heel, which is really funny because he has no accent whatsoever. He's just like a guy from New York who happens to be Indian, and he's like, I'm so much better than you, and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it seemed like he's from, I think his accent, sounded like he was like from Chicago or something. I think he's Canadian though. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, pretty average heel promo. And then they start to introduce Gillberg, and they do it in the same way that Goldberg was introduced in WCW. Everyone should check out Bill Goldberg if you haven't seen him. He was pretty awesome. He only did a few things. He was kind of a one-trick pony, but he was fun. Anyway, so Gillberg is, making fun of Goldberg. He is a much skinnier dude. I'm pretty sure he's wearing a bald cap if he didn't shave his head. He's making ridiculous noises, kind of like Goldberg, but, exaggerated to the nth degree. It was so dumb. My God. I mean, I get what they're doing. You had the commentators, Jim Ross and Jerry the King Lawler, making fun of Goldberg as Gillberg was coming out.
You know what I like about the intro? It's, because when Goldberg comes out, it's kind of like a deeper chant, Goldberg.
Yeah, they're all like,
they kind of have this
Gillberg.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, whatever the chant is, it's kind of more like pathetic. Gillberg.
Yeah, it was a joke that lasted like 5 minutes. That was only funny to me for the first like 20 seconds. So, dumb match. Gillberg gets squashed. This was only in there to be making fun of WCW at the time. So on we go to the next one.
It seemed like anyone really cared too much.
No, I don't think they did. What was it, like a minute long or something?
Yeah, 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we get to the Brood versus the Acolytes and Viscera. And
this was a good match.
Yeah, that's Gangrel, Edge, and Christian. Mm-hmm. So I was excited to see those three. I'm not usually, stoked about like 6-man matches, but this was cool. I was into this one.
Yeah, dude.
Again, we said we have Goth Mabel and all that stuff, but I was surprised. I think this is the first time I ever saw a bear hug get like a huge crowd pop.
Yeah, it was a good bear hug.
Had one of them in a bear hug, and the crowd was like going nuts. Like, whoa, that's not the most exciting move, but he had him going.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess he did have him lifted up. Who was in that bear hug?
It was probably Bradshaw giving it to Edge or Christian or something. Christian would probably, because Christian was taking a bunch of the punishment for like 5-10 minutes of that match, and then he hot tagged to Gangrel. I don't know. This dude, the Brood entrance is still to this day fucking awesome. It gave me goosebumps all over my body, and I was just sitting on my couch watching it. So I love the music, I love the vibe, I love the lights, I love Gangrel drinking and spitting out the blood. Triple H stole that from Gangrel because he wasn't doing it yet. So That's what I say. That's my take on the situation. But yeah, this was a standard 6-man tag, but man, they were hitting each other hard. It looked good. Everything was snug, and the storyline here, I guess, was that the Brood was a part of the Ministry and then broke off. So now they're good guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, the bad guys were doing bad guy stuff, and they had control of the match for several minutes until the Brood was able to make a hot tag. But still, it wasn't enough because Bradshaw got the pin and the corporate ministry came out with the win.
Yeah, I had that it was more about the entrances than the work rate, which, I mean, the entrances
But the work rate was good, though. I mean, like, Bradshaw and Farouk are really good. Man, such intensity. And, I mean, and Edge and Christian and Gangrel. And Viscera was actually pretty good, too, all things considered. Big, huge guy, can't really move around very much, but he did some good stuff. I will say this was the match where I noticed how many times the commentators had said no mercy. And I think I was already at they've said it 10 times and this pay-per-view's gone on for 15 minutes. So
how many times, because the main event is a no holds barred match, and how many times throughout, like, later tonight we have a no holds barred, no rules, no holds barred. It's just like, God, they say it's a no holds barred match. So then we go on to Steve Blackman and Droz. Is that how you say it? Droz?
Refereed by Teddy Long. Did you see that?
Well, I was thinking, like, is Peanut Head in the fucking
dude?
Referee? And they don't even draw attention to that, right? They're just kind of like,
no. I think I think they said referee Teddy Long, and I was like, no shit. And then I looked, and there he was. I swear to God, he went down to count a pin, and it was a 1 count. I swear, I heard him say, "That's one player." Dude, I don't know.
I've never really seen that transition before. From like character to referee. I mean, I know, like,
I think it was the other way around for Bill Alfonso in ECW. He was a ref first and then became like a manager.
Yeah, another whistle blowing guy. A lot of whistleblowers in this business. Yeah, no, Droz.
Puke, remember?
I was gonna say, I always it's terrible when I see him, because I remember Beyond the Mat when he was being interviewed by Vince McMahon. He was like an ex-football player, and they were showing what it's like to, recruit a new wrestler. And his thing was that he could puke on demand. And in that documentary, Vince is like, "He's gonna puke. He's gonna puke. Oh my God, he's gonna puke." And then he makes himself puke.
Yeah, Drozdov.
And then he was paralyzed in a match with D'Lo Brown during a SmackDown taping not too long after this in '99. Botched running powerbomb. So he became a quadriplegic. I think he later gained some movement in his like arms, but I think that's a thing that I always think about when I see a hard land or something that looks dangerous in wrestling. I'm like, always remember that guy from Beyond the Mat who ended up paralyzed and fucking, I don't know, man. But the match itself, I don't know. I think this one kind of fell flat. Blackman, gives him an arm submission or something in about 6 minutes. And
there was like one time where I think the crowd used the air horn and chanted for Blackman, but I don't know. Yeah, this had very little crowd participation. It was pretty quick. Steve Blackman, from what I remember, was never really utilized properly. He was kind of just like, once Ken Shamrock left, they were like, we need a new MMA guy. Let's get Steve Blackman.
Yeah.
So you were right. Blackman wins with an arm bar on Droz, who taps out.
And then we got to Kane versus Midian. Am I saying his name right?
Yes, Midian. Yeah.
Midian was bigger than Kane. Like,
wider, certainly.
Well, softer, but he was a big dude. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. For some reason, it seems like no one's bigger than Kane, but
yeah, he's a big guy. So I think just about a year earlier, he was part of a tag team called the Godwins, and he was Phineas Godwin. And I don't remember what his brother. He had another tag team partner who was another Godwin, and they were just like hillbillies, like dirty, giant hillbillies. So clearly, this is a much better use of him.
Yeah, he's just some like ogre, long hair, tattoo. Like, I mean, he does look like the last guy you'd want to get into a fight with for sure. But the
Yeah.
crowd was super into Kane. Kane was super over in the UK in this year.
Yeah, I
And
mean, this initial iteration of Kane to me will always be the best version of Kane. Obviously, now he's a crazy vocal pro-Trump politician, so forget that. But when he was a wrestling character, this was where he was at his best. And what were you gonna say?
oh, I just said his mask looks so awesome.
Yeah, the mask is cool. Funny enough, you find out through this pay-per-view that he's part of the tag champs with X-Pac. So I guess there's probably some sort of a comedic thing that was going on between Kane and X-Pac. I don't really remember much of it, but I just remember that it happened.
Yeah, unlikely pairing for sure.
Yeah. And, despite Kane being impressive, this was kind of another dud match for me. And it ended in a DQ where all the corporate ministry comes out and attacks Kane. And then X-Pac comes out and saves Kane. This is kind of, for run-ins, this was a little ridiculous. So one small dude with a kendo stick comes into a ring and 6 people in the ring just scatter. That's a little unrealistic even for me. I'm like, oh, really? This 6-foot guy is gonna scare off 5'6'5" guys? Okay.
I was thinking the same thing. I know in wrestling there's kind of like a traditional rule that heels are supposed to scatter when a babyface comes for a save.
Of course.
And I've heard they even say if you don't scatter, whatever he does to you, shoot wise is completely okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on you. He can fuck you up. But I mean, it's still hard to believe when one smaller guy does it. But I also wanted to ask you, Sean Waltman or X-Pac or whatever, 123 Kid, whatever we want to call him, he's wearing a Degeneration X shirt.
Yeah.
But no one else is Degeneration X in this entire show. And members of Degeneration X are fighting against him. They're in a corporate ministry. So is this pre-Degeneration X or post? Or
no? So this, I actually looked this up when I was watching last night because I was also confused. So DX had already been a thing twice by this point.
Oh,
so the first instance was when it was just Sean and Hunter and China. And that went until I think WrestleMania in 1998, the year prior to this pay-per-view, where Michaels lost to Austin. And then Michaels left because he had screwed up his back. And then so the storyline way to get him out of there was I think Triple H kicked him out. And so they were supposed to be heels for a while, but then he recruited Road Dogg and Billy Gunn and X-Pac, and then they became more of a comedic heel group. And so they were a thing up until right before the corporate ministry thing happened. So that's why he's still wearing the DX stuff. Is it's a fresh wound, China and Hunter were gone, and I think Billy Gunn had hurt Road Dogg somehow. I don't know. So they were all kind of split up, and I don't think they get back together again until maybe 2004 or 5 when it's just Shawn and Triple H again.
Okay, yeah, because in my brain, all the stuff you just explained happened a little bit later than it actually did.
Yeah.
I was thinking that was more 2000-ish.
I thought so too. I thought they were a thing through 99 and 2000, but I guess they weren't. It was just all 97 to 99. It was 2 years max. Which is kind of crazy to think about that DX was so influential after 2 years, less than 2 years.
And hey, what'd you think of this stretch? Leave us a voicemail at 626-657-SLAM or DM us on Instagram at Grapple City Pod. We might read or play your take on the show.
I was reminded of something that we should maybe talk about for a minute or two, which is that Sabu unfortunately passed away a day or two ago, and we had just watched him on that ECW pay-per-view, Barely Legal. And, there were a lot of really nice things said about him on social media. There were a lot of great memories shared, a lot of great moments in the ring. Just thought it was worth calling him out. He was a true innovator, and there are so many things that happen nowadays in matches that are because of him. Throwing chairs at people's faces, that was him. John doing springboards off the top rope where you're kind of hanging out for a while before you do anything. That was him.
Yeah.
Getting tables. That was Sabu. Not a lot of people know that, but Sabu was the guy that popularized putting people through tables. So, we lost a good one, but his memory and his work will always live on. So R.I.P. Sabu.
I can't believe he did his scheduled final match with Joey Janela and then passed away like all in the same few weeks,
Yeah.
like that was really
It's a
like,
crazy turn of events. That on Busted Open today, they had a whole episode, talking about him, and they had people call in and stuff. And Bill Alfonso called in because they're still friends. They were still friends, and he was like, "Yeah, he was really excited about the match. He really wanted it. After it was over, he thought it could have been better, but he was really happy that he did it. And so it seemed like he wanted it. I don't know if he knew that his time was up and he wanted to give it one last hurrah, but."
Yeah, I don't know what he knew or what it was. I mean, that match was, I know we talked about it around WrestleMania time, but it was nuts. I mean, I don't, it was crazier than the ECW match that we saw last week. Like his final match, like,
Yeah.
just the amount of barbed wire stuff he was thrown into and the amount of like wounds to his head. I was like, I wonder, at first I was wondering if it contributed to, a health decline, but there's no way to know. There was nothing released, but
Yeah.
So bummer, but I'm sure we'll see a lot more from him as we go back through history and watch all of this crazy shit.
Absolutely, yeah. But what's funny is the one match that we've seen of his on this podcast is probably like the tamest of all of his matches in terms of craziness, in terms of blood, in terms of high fall. Like we need to watch. It's sacrilege for some people, but we need to watch ECW One Night Stand, the one that they did with WWE, because it's like only 20 years old, so it's not that old. But there's a lot of, you want to talk about crazy fans and the craziest atmosphere. You've never seen that, have you?
I have not, so I'm down to watch that.
Yeah.
All right, so let's continue on. We had what was supposed to be Sable versus Tori, right?
Yes, Sable versus
Sable
Tori.
does the old heel thing where like, I'm not healthy, so I've got someone else to fight for me.
I'm sick.
Yeah,
That's literally what she did.
Yeah, so Nicole Bass comes out. She is this beast of a woman. I mean, she's fucking huge, bodybuilder.
Did you look her up at all?
Big square head. Yeah.
Did you look her up? Did you see like she had a very strange and crazy journey, like just as a professional?
We could talk about it.
We don't need to. I just thought it was interesting. She had a crazy. She was not in wrestling for very long. I think she started out like, obviously being a bodybuilder, and I think she got on to Howard Stern one time and like kept coming on to Howard Stern, and then got into WWF for a little while. But she she's had problems with abuse problems, domestic violence, drug problem. She was
sexually assaulted backstage by the Brooklyn Brawler. It says on Wikipedia. One weird thing for me is her real name is Nicole Fuchs, and I was born Bradley Fuchs. I changed my name for fun, for various reasons. In music, I was using a different name, and then people became to know me by it, so I just made it legal. Who cares, really? But I was like, man, am I related to this woman? Because she looks like some of my family members that are Fuchs. So it's not like the most common last name. Yeah, but she's scary. Maybe she's my cousin, who knows?
Yeah, she had a very short stint in the WWF, wrestled on the independents for a few years, but, didn't have much of a career in wrestling, and had a crazy life, had a bunch of bad stuff happen to her, did a bunch of bad stuff to people. So, this was
and
her.
She died early at age 52.
Yeah, and when did she pass away? 2017.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
I didn't know she did a bunch of bad things to people. That's interesting too.
She squashed Tori in seconds, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a squash match.
Yeah, she squashed Tori in seconds, and then we got on to the next match of the evening, which was Shane McMahon versus X-Pac for the European title. For a match with a McMahon, this was pretty good, actually. Shane knew how to take bumps and do some things, some offensive moves really well.
And they brought back the European Championship, I guess, just for this show. It's not, but they put it on Shane. Like, I was under the impression that like it wasn't something he earned; it was just something that he like gave himself.
I'm pretty sure there was some video package at some point during this pay-per-view where they explained that he like gave it to himself, and I think X-Pac was maybe the last one before they got rid of it. I don't know. I wasn't. They didn't go that far into it, but it was a pretty fast-paced and exciting match. But then, interference and tomfoolery with the corporate ministry, it just took a long time.
Yeah. A lot of overbooking on these matches, like people saving other people, and China and Triple H interfering. Yeah, Shane wins.
It's just, it just kind of became like a clusterfuck at the end, and then Shane wins. So this is one of the things that I thought was kind of cool about the show, is that even though it was overbooked, even though no titles or nothing like that happened and everything was super predictable, I really appreciated the through line of like, it's more like an episode of Raw or SmackDown now, where it's like, okay, this is the story that we're telling for the next 2 hours. Like, these people are wrecking shit, and they're in charge, and they're wreaking havoc on everyone else. I appreciated that, despite what we've just said about how it's overbooked. And
you're seeing almost everyone that works on the show every like few minutes.
Yeah,
kind of
which is kind of cool.
To the point where I got confused who's even in this particular match.
That's fair. That's fair. And then, the match is over, and then we get Mick Foley, Mankind, in a backstage interview, who's about to have a match, and then he gets attacked by the Ministry, who's just coming back from, from interfering in the previous match. They beat the crap out of him. And then out comes Billy Gunn, who's known as Mr. Ass at this point in his career, which made me laugh because I think about Danhausen calling Billy Gunn's kids the Ass Boys.
Yeah, and AEW kind of became Daddy Ass.
Yep.
Yeah, we had the Ass Boys, and I see sometimes with like when the Attitude Era stuff's on in the shop when I'm working, I'll look over and like Billy Gunn, like he's got a thong under his shorts and he just like wiggles his ass out and then pulls his shorts back up, and I'm like, God, that guy just really went for it. It seems, I guess this match I was reading was supposed to be Gunn's like big solo push, like that was the start of it. But
another good match though,
Yeah,
we Mankind looked like maybe he wasn't going to come out because he had just been attacked, but then he does. It starts on the outside. It's like, like a street fight for the first few minutes. I wrote down that Mick took a crazy bump in the first 3 minutes. I think he like threw himself over the railing and just landed on the concrete like it was nothing. But this was like, Mick Foley's the best, right? He's so intense, but he had such a disregard for his own personal safety. I think that's, those two things is what made him so popular. And you can see it. He's just letting his body get abused.
I guess by mid-99, he was getting into that whole like rock and sock comedy role.
Yeah, the Three Faces of Foley.
Yeah, so this is sort of like the end of his like insane deathmatch stuff and kind of heading into the more like, hey, I can't have the ability to kill myself any more than I already have, so we're going to be funny.
He still does a bunch of crazy matches. He just does them less frequently. But yeah, he already had Mr. Socko at this point, his disgusting, stinky sock that he would put over his hand before his finishing maneuver, the mandible claw.
Right, so he puts that sock in someone's mouth, which is gnarly. Yeah, he's got such a good, weird sense of humor, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, Mick's the man.
Yeah, there's a lot of like, I guess, heroes of the Attitude Era, but he's kind of you have like The Undertaker and Triple H and Stone Cold, but Mick Foley is kind of the unsung hero of it all. Yeah.
Oh no, I think he was unsung at the time, but I think people recognize it now. He was really important.
And I feel like the crowd there that night knew it too. People really seemed to love him.
Yeah. You wanted to root for him. Sami Zayn does stuff that I feel like reminds me of Mick Foley, with like the struggle and, being having this sort of everyman quality that I don't really know how to describe other than to call it that.
Yeah, kind of underdog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just want to root for them. And obviously when he's just Mankind and he's like a crazy person, you don't really want to root for him. But from, I think, the Hell in a Cell match with Undertaker onwards, it was really hard not to root for Mick Foley.
Yes. This match had a botched ending, though. It was kind of funny.
It was funny and also bad at the same time. Like, even forgetting about the botch, it was a stupid finish. So Mick Foley, Mankind, went to go grab a chair out from outside the ring. He brought it into the ring, and referee Teddy Long pulled it away from him. It lands on the mat. The ref doesn't do anything to move it out of the way. He just leaves it there. Billy Gunn reverses the mandible claw and slams Mankind's head into the chair that was just sitting in the ring. And then, then the botch happens where I think he kicked out, right? It wasn't a 3 count, and they rang
Ref
the
only
bell.
counted till 2. He kicked out. There was no one in the ring thought it was 3. No one in the audience thought it was 3. But the guy ringing the bell,
he thought it was 3.
And then I think just like we watched in ECW last week, that happened as well. And it seems like it's kind of protocol. Like once that happens, they're like, "Fuck it, just pin me again.
Yeah.
We'll get the fuck out of this, right?" Because if you continue on, like we're, so they just kind of redid the pin, and Daddy Ass won.
Yeah, he hit Mankind with his finish, the Famouser, on the chair again, and then 1, 2, 3. Billy Gunn wins.
And then I think was there more interference and bullshit at the end of this one?
No, this was actually a clean finish. Wow. One of the longer matches of the night, if I remember correctly, and again, a pretty good match. Mick's always impressive, and Billy Gunn is a huge dude, and he's really good at what he does. So I enjoyed this match.
We get into big 3 in one ring at time.
Yes, the main event.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, champion, versus Undertaker versus Triple H, which is no holds barred. They tell us very often and frequently. And it's interesting because Undertaker and Triple H are both in this Carney group with Shane McMahon. And it's the corporate ministry. And Stone Cold is, it's not really a 3-way for the start of this match. It's just,
it's a 2-on-1.
Undertaker and Triple H beating the shit out of.
Can we talk about the entrances for a sec? Because I liked, first of all, I liked the Undertaker entrance because it was different again. And I just think it's really fun to see the different incarnations and iterations of the Undertaker. So here, everything feels a bit more evil. There's some electric guitar that's usually not there. And there's a really sort of, oppressive vibe to it. And then I wrote here, Paul Bearer looking semi-normal looking was pretty funny.
Yeah.
But then the Triple H.
Twice the size of what it was in 94.
I think maybe we just never saw that profile of him, or I don't know. But then the Triple H entrance was interesting too because it was not Motorhead. It was not the game, which came a little bit later. This was, his in between his Hunter Hearst Helmsley music and the game was this, which is I think the same people who did the D-Generation X theme. They did this one for him. And this was kind of fun too. It was like a throwback for me because I was watching during this time. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember this music. And just him walking out with Chyna. He didn't do the water spitting thing. It was kind of interesting.
Chyna looks great too. She's
always.
I kind of feel like she's, was born 20 years too early. Cause if she would, just seeing her in there with Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, I wish I could see her, in her prime against women of that caliber.
Yeah.
Strength and size. She just had to be mostly either fight the dudes or interfere a whole bunch. You're like, fuck. Kind of wasted talent a little bit.
I mean, for the time, she certainly got to do a lot of things that women hadn't done. She broke a ton of barriers. I think she was the first female to win the Intercontinental Championship, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe the only one. I don't know if
I think she was the first woman in the Royal Rumble when there was no women's Royal Rumble.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, Chyna's a trailblazer, no doubt about it. Here, she's just she's a menacing lackey.
Right.
But this was another pretty good match. I mean, it's long and they do a bunch of dumb street fight type shit. But it became more fun once Triple H and Undertaker finally got mad at each other and they were like, "Wait, you want the championship? No, I want the championship." Yeah. And then it became a true triple threat.
It turned into a true triple threat. I thought it was interesting, something they wouldn't do now. The ref took a chair from someone. I can't remember which, but he was, even though it's no holds barred, he's still trying to prevent these guys.
Oh yeah, it was Earl. Yeah, Earl Hebner took a chair from Triple H or something. Yeah, that was weird. What was that about?
Yeah, it was weird. I think Steve Austin got the chair eventually.
Right.
Steve was going to be hit with it, but then the ref took the chair from whoever was going to smack him, and then I was like, "You can't take chairs away from people in the middle of a no holds barred match."
It was a little what's the word? He was showing his hand. He's a little biased there.
Yeah, egregious.
Agree. Man, yeah. This was the longest match of the card, as well it should be. It was the main event. It was for the championship. But because of the fact that this is a glorified house show, as I said before, Stone Cold wins, and it remains the champion, which is kind of ridiculous considering like what happens leading up to him winning. Like, there's so many people, so much interference, and yet somehow
everyone
he wins.
From the entire night ends up in that ring at some point.
Yeah.
And then somehow by the end they're all cleared from the ring. But lots of stunners, lots of, the classic like Austin send off with beers flying through the air into the ring. He catches them and slams them.
Gives Triple H one.
Yeah.
Pretends like he's friends. Stunners him.
Yes.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And that was it. A lot of silliness at the end.
Let's get into the grapple grade, where we rate it fast forward, play, or rewind. Break it down into 3 speeds. Fast forward is like, can't stand it, skip it. Don't even put the tape in the deck. Play is like, it's fine, you can let it roll. Nothing earth shattering here, but it won't hurt you. Rewind is watch it again. It's that good. Where are you going with this one, Aaron?
As a whole, a very mid show for me.
Yeah.
Although I do like the continuous thread of the corporate ministry, it felt more like an episode of Raw meets a house show, so fast forward this shit.
Yeah, I didn't mention earlier, but I did in the intro, but the entire time this UK crowd has like the air horns.
They do.
And they're like there's just guys with whistles in the crowd the entire time.
It is very much a 90s like UK football crowd.
yeah, ole and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They didn't draw a lot of attention to being in the UK, but it was a very European type crowd, which was really annoying to my ears. I don't know, just whistles.
Well, the air horns were annoying. I said I enjoyed them. I think they happened a little too often, but it was very much like a 90s thing. I remember when people were like, "Oh, I'm going to bring an air horn in this arena. It's going to be awesome."
Yeah, I would just get those air horn guys out. But yeah, I'm glad that I saw.
I just want to say one more thing. So the real reason why I'm giving this a fast forward, there's nothing on this pay-per-view that you can't see elsewhere and better. That's really what it comes down to. Like, everybody that you see on this pay-per-view, they do tons of better stuff than this. So for that reason, you can skip this, and there will be stuff that we covered that will have all these people that will be worth your time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad that I've now dipped myself into this part of the Attitude Era, and that I have more of a reference point. It's cool to see some early UK stuff happen with big stars, but yeah, I'm gonna go with fast forward also. It was, especially up until the main event, it was hard and I watched so much wrestling, it wasn't on par with a lot of shit that I could just see any old day. So I think we usually agree on these sorts of things on the ratings, and I have to agree with you on this one too. Let's see.
Got any emails? What is happening?
That was my AOL modem dialing up to see if we have any emails.
That was a very evil modem. Jeez. It was ominous.
Yeah, let's see. Let's hit the Grapple City DMs. If you want to hear yourself on the show, you can always call 626-657-SLAM. Drop us a DM at Grapple City Pod on Instagram. We love the feedbacks, love the old stories, love when you point out the stuff we forgot. All of our contact info is in the episode description. This week, my buddy Josh, who's wrote in before, hit us up on Instagram. Josh from Los Angeles said he is so disappointed that Bradley, wasn't impressed by the 6-man Mykonoshu Pro match. That match was legendary. It's what indie fans were raving about for years after barely legal first. I respect Josh's insight to this, and it's cool that he listens, because he's actually someone who works in the business.
Nice.
Unlike us. But dude, I don't know. It's just,
you didn't like that match. I mean, we've seen so much of that style now. That style has been normalized so much to the point of like exhaustion, So I can totally understand what Josh is saying of like, in 1997, you didn't see 6 amazing Japanese wrestlers on American television for 15 minutes, like, ever. So I get it.
I'm sure I overlooked it, and it's I'm sure I didn't give it a time. I mean, there's like 6 people in the ring again. I don't know who any of them are. I like the one-on-one. A couple of the guys in that match we'd seen do. I'm just a person who really likes
Singles
a one-on-one
matches.
match, and and it's hard for me to follow a story when there's a whole bunch of them. But
I get that.
But if I ever end up with ECW Barely Legal on my screen again, that's the match. I'll give it another chance.
I remember it was very athletic. Like they were doing really athletically impressive stuff, but in juxtaposition to like the crazy, violent, carny stuff that was happening before and after. I think it maybe got lost in the shuffle for me.
Yeah, and dude, and I love wrestling, but I also get crabby sometimes when I watch too much wrestling in a week. I'm just like, fuck, how many goddamn matches? Can I skip one? And I think I basically did just skip over that one when we talked about it, but. Let's see. We got some emails here. Karen from St. Louis says she's been getting into wrestling again thanks to the show. Listen to your episode on Canadian Stampede. Forgot wrestling can make me feel like that. You guys really make it fun to learn about these old shows. Thanks for what you do. Thanks, Karen from St. Louis.
Yeah, thank you.
From St. Louis, too. I don't think we know each other. Maybe we do. Maybe only people I know listen to this thing. Who knows? Hey, let's see. This says, hey, this is Dylan from Chicago. Listen, you guys nailed it on the TNA Rebellion talk. I mean, Joe Hendry, dude's a star. But seriously, did anyone notice that whole card felt like a fever dream? You guys are like the only ones who call it like it is. Keep burying the crap. Thanks, Dylan from Chicago. Glad you like what we do. You guys can always. I know I always say the phone number, but I really appreciate you contacting us however you may. And I know people don't like to use phones anymore, but it's so fun when I actually get the audio of you guys talking. So if you do ever call that number, it's just a voicemail. It's not like I'm going to pick up and talk your ear off or anything. You can just drop that. Instead of an email, you can just drop it right into your phone, and then I can drop it right into the show, and then we can sort of get more personality from you. I'm just please call the line 626-657-SLAM.
Pick up the phone.
So for the next episode, we are getting into, I just decided this, but you can let me know how you feel about it, Aaron. WWF Over the Edge 98, which was May 31st, 98 in Milwaukee. It's got Stone Cold versus Dude Love with Vince as the referee, Patterson as a timekeeper, Briscoe as the bell ringer. So supposedly it's peak Mr. McMahon heel era. And I'm told it's one of Foley's best performances as Dude Love.
Nice.
And, it's a key moment in the Austin McMahon feud. And you have The Rock versus Farouk, sorry.
Mm-hmm. This is when he betrayed Farouk in the Nation of Domination. I remember this.
Yeah, and then the DX versus the Nation feud is heating up. So
this sounds good.
That sounded interesting to me. I just, I do want to get into oddball stuff and weird shit. And even the ones that we say, oh, fuck it, they're fast forward. It's interesting for me as far as just learning about the history of all this stuff. But I'm really trying to I want something that's just really fucking good for the next one. Because I feel for my taste, it's been a minute since I saw an old one that I was raving about. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this Over the Edge 98 does it for me. And if you guys want to listen, watch it before the next show, you'll know what we're talking about. And don't forget, before we go, to follow us on your podcast app so you don't miss the next episode when it comes out in a couple of weeks. Or if you're ever wondering where we've been and if there's anything new, if you're an Echo device user, you can just say, Alexa, play Grapple City Rewind podcast. And don't forget to use the word podcast at the end. That's all I have for today. What about you, Aaron?
Yeah, I don't have anything else. This was my pick. It was a mid pay-per-view, but hopefully Over the Edge is very good. It seems like it will be based on the card. So looking forward to watching it.
All right. Well, thanks, man. I had a lot of fun, and thanks everyone for listening. We will be back with you as soon as we can.
Bye all.